Good afternoon, everyone. I pray that your Monday, the beginning of your week, was filled with places and spaces of joy, of peace, of happiness. And even if there were some times during that day where the proverbial stuff hit the fan, even if there was times where you found yourself feeling depressed, even if there was times when your anxiety was beginning to rise, even if there was times when you acted out of character, where you went off with someone, or if you just had a good old cry, irrespective of all those things that happen, because all those things are life, I pray that you found spaces and places of joy, of peace, of happiness, where you could remind yourself that in spite of everything that may seem to be coming at you, that life is still good and there are still pockets of joy, and that we still have a choice to look at life from the perspective of the glass half full and not the glass half empty. And if you choose to look at it from the perspective of life is now half empty, I hope that whatever had filled that cup was so good that you savored the first half. We're continuing our conversation about signs that you may be in a toxic relationship. And I just want to remind you, this is not just with intimate relationships, but it could be with platonic relationships, relationships between partners, between spouses, between parent and children, or children and parents, between co-workers, between church members, between temple members, between the people who you practice on the yoga mat with, the people who you do whatever with. It's about toxic relationships. Thus far, we've listed a couple of patterns, which I just will quickly list again. Patterns, the signs that may be that your relationship may be toxic is lack of support, toxic communication, jealousy, controlling behaviors, resentments, dishonesty, and today we're talking about patterns of disrespect. Now, one of the viewers wrote in and said to me, look up. So I am going to try to practice. This is clearly not my element, which is doing videos, but I am trying a new thing. I'm moving outside of my comfort zone. So if any of you have any hints of how I can do this better, please let me know, because I want to make this the best that I can. So patterns of disrespect, and I need my glasses very quickly just to read. Patterns of disrespect include being chronically late, casually forgetting events, and we're saying forgetting in quotes, and other behaviors that show disrespect for your time are a red flag. You know, if you are in relationship or interacting with someone, it doesn't matter what time you tell them, they are chronically late. They're always late. That can come across as a level of disrespect for the other person's time, for the other person's energy, that they're basically saying, you know, I don't really care if I keep you waiting. My inability to get myself together in a timely manner, or my unwillingness to get myself together in a timely manner, or whatever it is that makes me chronically late or makes me be late for our relationship, can speak to a level of maybe underlying disrespect that I may have towards you, where I'm thinking, well, they'll be there. They'll wait. Show can't start till I get there. And so that's one typical sign. Now, there are some people who they're not necessarily being disrespectful. They just can't seem to pull it together. They just can't seem to get themselves motivated. And there may be some underlying issues with them as well. But if you're in relationship with someone who's depending on you, if this becomes chronic, it may be an underlying sign of disrespect. And you may have tried some things. If you want to leave the house at 7, so you tell them to be ready at 6:30. But guess what? If this is a toxic relationship, they catch on. Okay, there's an underlying aim to make the focus about them and their wants and their needs. And if you're the one who's chronically late, I would invite you to kind of consider, what does that do for you, and what message are you trying to send to the people who you are interacting with? Are you trying to tell them that they don't matter? Are you trying to tell them that, this is me, just accept me as I am? Or is there something that is fueling what could possibly be disrespect? The second piece is patterns of disrespect is casually forgetting events. They may forget your birthday. They may forget your anniversary. They may forget that on Tuesdays you always go to, or you always participate in virtual Zumba, in-class Zumba, and they're supposed to either prepare the meal or come home early enough so you can trade off and they can watch the children. But it seems like every week just about they have forgotten. They've forgotten, oh, is it that time again? Oh, okay. Now, unless they're suffering with some early dementia or senility or some other physiological reason, you may want to consider, is this becoming a pattern of disrespect? And the whole thing that makes it toxic is when it's a pattern. If it happens once every now and then, that is not a pattern. Okay, but if it's happening enough that this begins to feel familiar, if this happens enough where you begin to feel like you're being discounted, then that's something to look at. Another pattern of disrespect, or possible pattern of disrespect, and some of you may disagree, but it's when you are in contact with the person, maybe you call them on the phone, which seems to be a dying art, but you're actually talking on the phone or even talking in person, but instead of paying attention to you, they're on their phone and they're texting, or they're on their computer. They're not fully present in the conversation. And you could be talking and they're just going, what you say again? And now that can, this culture has almost made it okay for us to interact with each other via our cell phones. Even when we're in each other's presence, you go to restaurants and you see people sitting at the same table, whole families, and everybody's on their phone. We mentioned early unhealthy communication patterns. That's an unhealthy communication pattern where you and the person who you're interacting with, or whoever it may be, cannot show up and be present in their interactions with you. That they have to be multitasking, that they have to have their attention averted someplace else. Now, it's another thing if the two of you agree and you both are on the same page and that's exactly what you do, then you like it, I love it. But it can be a sign of a toxic relationship when one person is trying to be present, one person is fully present and showing up and participatory, and the other person is only partially present because they're focused on their phone, they're focused on their laptop, they're focused on the video game. And it really begins to look quite toxic when you try to get their attention, when they bristle and possibly have like a what? They begin to have an attitude because you're demanding, you're asking them to be present. That is a sign of disrespect. That can be a pattern of disrespect. Another pattern of disrespect can be when your partner or whoever you're dealing with makes sarcastic remarks or criticizes you consistently in front of other people. We've already talked about that it's a sign of toxicity when they're doing it to you. But when they start to give themselves permission to do it in the midst of other people, when they give themselves permission to make you the brunt of their jokes, that's a pattern of disrespect. And a lot of times this can point to friendships. Friendships when you get together with your crew, you get together with your tribe, you get together with your girls, your boys, or whoever, and there's someone there who's always trying to make you the brunt of the joke. There's someone there who's constantly calling you out. There's someone there who makes snide remarks, who constantly keeps badgering you. That can be a pattern of disrespect if it happens continually. I think we're going to talk tomorrow about the next sign, which is kind of feeds into this. If you're interacting with someone and their patterns of disrespect kind of show up, that when you're in their presence, you feel worse than you did when you were not around them. When you're talking to them, you feel more isolated than you did when you were alone. So I invite you to consider, if you are in relationship, or if you're thinking about, is your relationship toxic? Are there patterns of disrespect? Are there, another example is if you live with someone, and this could be a toxic relationship, and this could be your children, it could be your spouse, it could be your partner, it could be your sibling, and they have no regard for your stuff. When they use your stuff, they use it up, or they tear it up, or they damage it, and this becomes a pattern. It becomes a pattern to where you may find yourself trying to hide your stuff, but you may find yourself, trying to make sure that that person stays away from your stuff. But you may find yourself wondering, why is my stuff over here? Why'd they leave this out when they knew it was spoiled and they knew it was my lunch for tomorrow? Now, if it happens once every now and then, it's okay. But it's when it becomes a pattern that it could be pointing to a toxic relationship. I invite you, if you're questioning if you're in a toxic relationship, to think about the things I've said, think about it with intention, and think about it on purpose. And if you are in a good relationship and none of this is present in your relationships, I celebrate you. And I encourage you to celebrate your relationship. I encourage you to go to the persons you're in relationship with, your children, your siblings, your spouse, your partner, whoever it is, and it's a healthy relationship, and just tell them thank you. Thank you for contributing to the health and the life of this relationship. I really appreciate you. And I'm going to end by saying thank you to each and every one of you for contributing to the health and life of this video relationship. The same way I do videos and I am giving you information, your responses, your viewership, it helps me. As I prepare what I'm going to say, it helps me to grow. And so I thank you for participating in what I consider a community of healing and restoration. I will talk with you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Here on the East Coast, we had a lot of rain this morning, but the sun is peeking through. I hope the folk in the South got through the hurricane okay, and just enjoy life. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.